That blaze was just one of 6. So basically all the wood structures that were on the original, part of the original school at one point or another went up in a blaze of glory. There was a dormitory for the farmhands as well. One of the farmhands, and this happened while one of the guys that I interviewed was here, so he recalled it quite vividly. But one of the farmhands went to bed one night with a cigarette, and yeah, he burnt the farmhand dormitory down basically, and died in the blaze as well. And I guess they got all the boys out of their beds, and they all, because I'm sure they were worried that the fire was going to, spread. Yeah, so they all stood basically outside and watched the building go down. So, and he said it was just, it lit up the sky for miles. It was.
Well, because if you think about it, buildings back then were really just like tar, paper, and wood smacked together.
Right.
And like a spark would set
and there's fire everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just crazy to me why they wouldn't make the connection.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh.
So there's something burning down.
Something.
It was probably in the newspaper. So, St. Michael's Hall, ground was broken in January 22nd, 1959. It contained 28 rooms, a director's suite, guest rooms, a visitor's parlor, a library, a community room, and a central chapel. My phone's ringing. I apologize.
Yeah, St. Michael's has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rooms, 8 rooms.
8 rooms, yeah.
And a basement. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, really?
That's
it?
All it has is 8 rooms and a basement.
Wow. It must have been some pretty small rooms.
Yeah.
Or they
remodeled.
And then made it smaller.
Yeah.
So once all those buildings burnt down, they finally got smart and they started building with brick. So there are 5 wings in the Drexel Center. 2 of the wings were 50-bed dormitories. So what used to be C Wing, by the way, was originally a dormitory. So I think that the area was completely open. And they...
Mr. Sandberg's room, where someone died in.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. That's what happened. That's what I got told by
By
Mr.
who?
Sandberg.
Oh.
So this is the history on the school?
Mm-hmm. So, so C Wing and I think A Wing were both dormitories, so all that area was open, and then there were beds in there, and then, the brother had his little room right off the bed.
Just put up walls in A Wing and like sectioned them off pretty much.
Well, from what I understand, Providence Creek didn't do a whole lot of restoration, but when the first day came in, they like really
Redid it.
really gutted it. Yeah, you probably have a better understanding than I have, because having been both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I don't really remember really paying attention to this side of campus, because apparently before I got there, they would there was an art studio over here that they was either built here beforehand or something. So they would trek down here just to have art class. And I remember when I got here, or I got to PCA, it was completely shut down. Nobody used it anymore. So they just collected dust all the time. And I'd be like, I think it's haunted. And just move on with my life.
Yeah.
But I'd always wondered what was in that room. What was in that room?
You always want to see what into the building. So.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, God, no.
That looks so much different.
Yeah, now they have the reflecting.
They have the reflecting doors. They have the brick, the
They have the
flagpole.
one-way.
That's crazy.
That is,
They have that awning now.
it just gives me a church feeling.
It does.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? All right, so the library and the classrooms were in another wing, and the dining hall and the kitchen were in yet another. The center was the gymnasium, and off the foyer were offices, a teacher's lounge, and visitors' parlors. The laundry and the boiler were in the basement. I believe I've been told that gym is original to the school. So you remember you saw the gym in that box. Basically, they built around it. I guess.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, that would make
That does make a lot of sense.
And there she is.
Lord.
So that's what our school used to look like?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
That's
not
Drexel.
all of it, but yeah, that's this building. Jeez,
Part of athletic school.
wish I was still here.
Yeah. Athletics included baseball, football, boxing, basketball, swimming, and ice skating. They won, well, I won't spoil the fun.
Rich.
So, you know that pond that you used to do scientific experiments? That was their swimming pool.
We jumped in that pond much.
They loved that swimming hole. They used to have to share it with the canning company that was right next door. But what the brothers would do is they would dam it off in the beginning of spring and let it fill with water, and then we get really, really deep apparently. I think it's spring fed, so it must be really, really
Yeah,
cold.
it's spring fed because
Yeah.
when you walk back there, you can see the spring that's.
And it's
Oh, you
flowing
can?
in.
Oh, neat.
It's freezing.
Yeah, spring fed will be that way. So back up one thing. There we go. So that's what it looked like when the boys went to school here. That's what it looks like today.
So overgrown.
That picture was actually taken by a former St. Joe's student who came back with his wife for a visit. I told you they treat the place like it's a Mecca. So he came back there, he walked back there, took that picture, and they sent it to me, and he's like, "We need to talk to someone about this swimming pool." He was not happy about that swimming pool. Oh, by the way, they often had summer camps. So if the boys didn't want to go home during the summer, they could stay here and go to summer camp. At one point, they built little cabins out there next to the pond, and they would have a summer camp out in the pond, or they'd put up tents. Yeah, they said they had a blast during summer camp. Yeah.
Fun to camp out.
He said at one point they actually gave them a couple of rifles, like 22s, not real heavy duty, and let them go hunting by themselves.
Oh, Lord.
Can you imagine?
Let's do that.
Yeah, why don't they let us do that?
Yeah. I don't know.
in this kind of society, I really don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, back then people did not care.
So there's the stables and the hog house. There we go. So they raised corn, wheat, oats, soybeans, timothy grass, clover, alfalfa, Sudan grass, white potatoes, sweet potatoes, cucumbers, lettuce, chickens, cattle, and hogs. One of the guys that I interviewed said he was at school one fall and he looked out the back window and he said all he could see were those grasses. They were like purplish in color, and they were doing this kind of thing. He said it was just like the song, you know, the waving grains or whatever, however that thing goes. He said it was just beautiful. So there's our dairy barns and our milk house, because you have to separate the milk. So there's Father Brown and one of the farm hands and one of our students. By the way, Father Brown is the priest that was seen by Dr. Johnson, and there was also another woman that saw this particular priest. So they identified him from the photograph, and then I went online with the photograph, and I had some long-term residents tell me, two people chimed in, they're like, "Oh, that's Father Charles Brown." So it's not usual that you get someone's actual identity, but yeah. So
That's crazy.
yes. So, and as I say, the brothers ran the school. It was a 24/7 job. They slept in the dormitories. They taught the classes. They oversaw the extracurricular activities. One of the reasons I can't tell you what, you know, every school year something changed. You know, a brother came, a brother went. The extracurricular activities tended to be what they specialized in, right? So if one of them was a musician, then he might start a band. I know one of them that I was, one of the gentlemen that I was speaking with, he said one of the brothers knew something about electronics, and so they all built radios one year. So yeah, so and it's ironic because I said, "Did you ever do anything else with electronics after you left the school?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I went into electronics." So yeah, it was cool. So yeah, it was kind of whatever the brothers specialty was, is what the extracurrics were that year.
Gee.
Yeah. So the bell tower was dismantled in the early 90s because it was structurally unsound, but that's what it looked like originally. It was quite a handsome bell tower.
This, the church,
That one little like section is where the you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. You know what I'm
it's
talking
literally,
Yeah.
it was right, I wanna
Oh.
go there so bad.
about. Oh, what?
That's what it used to look like?
That's what it used to look like. Isn't that
I've never been,
beautiful?
like,
It is beautiful.
Oh.
It's because we moved out right and said there was asbestos.
They used to do marksmanship
No,
inside the
those
church.
aren't marble though. They look marble in that picture, but they're actually just plaster,
Oh, wow.
plaster covered. But yes, that's how she looked. Next slide. That's how she looks now.
Oh, Lord.
So they sold off all the pews. There is an altar there, but it's only just the one central one. I think there used to be one there and then one in the back as well. Obviously, they took the big cross down.
That's crazy.
The original lighting is there, though. Isn't that lighting
nice, yeah.
beautiful? Last time we went, though, the first time we went, all three lights were in perfect form. But the last time we came, there was a big hole in that one right there, which kind of broke my heart. I don't know what happened to it, but so here is so the school. One of the ways the school made money is they did a little booklet, a monthly booklet, and then they would sell it for like 5 cents, and they would by the printing of the booklet, and selling subscriptions, they made some money for the school as well. And of course, the booklet was always kind of about the school. So I found some old. I didn't find them. Janet, your former secretary, found them for me and sent them to me. But in this one in particular, it's from the early 70s, late 60s. And he's talking about the brothers talking about, first of all, they need more brothers, right? Because there was always a need for more brothers, more people that would dedicate their entire life to, a 10-year-old kid. But also, he's making a big bid for money. And that's right after St. Polycarp's had moved to Smyrna. So I'm guessing that that's kind of a telltale sign that they were running out of money at that point. So here's a more modern view.
That's just crazy how much it changed in that amount of time.
Yeah. St. Anthony's Monthly is what it was called. It was printed at the school and sold for 50 cents, not 5 cents, but 50 cents for a year's subscription of 11 issues. And then the money was used to fund the school and generate further donations. The print shop was a major source of revenue up until the 1960s. What I like about it, though, is it gives you such a cool snapshot of what it was like here. So if you go to the next slide. The linotype machine was used for printing, and they had an addressograph machine that was used to print the addresses for the thousands of people on the mailing list. The plates for the addressograph are still in our basement. I'm not sure which basement he means.
We have two.
It might be the chapel basement. The chapel basement is chock full of stuff, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but old booklets, old desks. They're all about this size. Yeah, it's just full
That's crazy.
old statues, So here, as I say, this wonderful snapshot of what school was like. So we get to see the kids. They had a student reading program. I'm sure they did. Next slide. So here it is. Number 1 in the state for basketball. Not surprising. Yeah. 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 Isn't that awesome? That lady, I believe, was teaching the kids how to bake. So they were learning baking. There's their baseball team and their spectators.
That's great.
1960s. Isn't that neat? Yeah. So occupations offered included carpentry, shoe repair, tailoring, printing, house painting, general farm work, dairy and poultry farming, baking and domestic science and electronics. There's the band. Now, none of the gentlemen that I interviewed from the 60s remembered there ever being music here. So they said that when they were here, there was no band and no choir. But That doesn't, obviously there was a band at some point because
Yeah.
we have evidence of it, so. Discipline, as I said already, the brothers were really wonderful, wonderful guys. The gentlemen that I talked to, now they're in their 70s. Let me know if you can do this. They're in their 70s. And if I ask them about the brothers, they can name just about every brother they ever had while they were here in their middle school years. I can't recall the name of my kindergarten teacher.
Nope.
Neither
can't.
can I.
I can.
And they list them just like there was Father Eugene and Father, and Brother Benjamin, and they just list them off. That's how close they were. So, and as I say, we wonder, right? It's a Catholic school. Go back one if you would. Sorry about that. Well, you wonder, did they abuse the kids? Was there any problem? But no, they were wonderful from the sounds of it. Now there was the one gentleman recalled one incident where they kind of beat up one of the boys. He had sexually abused one of the younger students. So this is the brother of the kid that did it. He's like, oh, he so had it coming. He was all on the brother's side. He's like, that guy had it coming, and what he did was just awful. So, but yeah, so they were. I know, but the brothers themselves were really, really wonderful, and the discipline met the punishment met the yeah, was gentle. Yeah. So, rebirth. So they closed their doors in 1972, and sadly enough, and it just basically laid vacant until 1997 when Providence Creek purchased the property. I believe some of the priests were still living in some of the buildings. The other buildings were still shut up. In fact, I was talking to the former financial something or another for Providence Creek, the gentleman that used to run the finances. He said they purchased the property, they walk into Morel, where a lot of the priests had lived, and he said, you turn the key, you open the door, and everything the priests had was still there. He said it was like the cups were on the table, the beds were made, all their possessions were there. It was like they just left one day, turned the key, and disappeared into the ether. Yeah, everything was there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he said it was wild.